Everybody, welcome to MUSE TV. We are back and it's another season of Bite Size Halloween, and we have Tracy Kleeman, who directed a short film called Witch Please. Please tell me, what was the premise of this story and how did it come about? Because it's almost perfect to what's going on today in real life when it comes to people and their looks and everything else like that.
Yeah, well, I've had the concept for a while. I'm a big fan of body horror, a huge fan of Death Becomes Her. If you haven't seen it, you must. It is like a must watch for beauty body horror and camp and horror in general. So I'd really always wanted to play with this idea of, a sort of werewolf-esque transformation with all the visceral pain that comes from your body going through something like that, but translated into the lengths that women go to maintain their beauty for both society standards and under the pressure of the male gaze. So I really loved this idea of watching somebody go through a very painful physical transformation, taking them from maybe a little bit older and frumpier to this sort of idealized beauty standard that society has set us to, and really showing like how painful that would be, but also kind of how down for it a lot of women would be. But in the process of that, the theme of the short being that in the process of putting your beauty or being a certain way for people or society, you lose yourself. And that's a piece of yourself that you can never get back. And ultimately that's what happens to Sammy in the short, as she realizes there's no going back to the woman that she once was, even if she wanted to.
Yeah, and it's funny how as right from the first frame of film, I'm like, it reminded me so much of what's going on with Instagram right now.
Yes.
And I was just like, you hit it right on the spot, right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. I recently became single like in the last year, and suddenly all over my Facebook and my Instagram, it's like they know they're promoting all of these like relationship courses, and this is the way to trigger his infatuation, and beauty courses and this and that, and basically all these tactics to be anything but yourself in the pursuit of finding somebody to love you. And it's a really toxic culture that is really preying on kind of lonely women on Instagram who are looking for any reason or way to find love, and other than just being themselves at the end of the day. So I love this idea of kind of how a modern day witch could use the social media space, and particularly the power of an influencer, to lure in clientele that would basically become beholden to her because they're just so desperate for, love and validation. It's really kind of like a modern day Ursula and Ariel kind of thing, which I love. That, she's this poor, unfortunate soul that goes to this witch who says, oh, I'm going to help you. I'm going to solve all your problems. We'll talk about what it's going to cost you later. But, just drink this thing and all your problems are solved. It's the monkey's paw. It's this, be careful what you wish for. It's this, you think what you want is one thing, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's not without consequences.
Yeah. And Tracy, that's the one thing I really like about when you bring some type of real life element into a horror aspect, it always seems to be the best horror film because there's some type of relation to it.
Yeah.
And I think
that's what I always try and do. Social commentary, baby. I'm all about it.
Exactly. Because I just recently saw another horror film, an actual full-length horror film that's coming out on another station. And it was the same thing, bringing in situations that have happened in real life and bringing them into the screen. And making a horror film around it. I think those are always the smartest ones. How difficult was it to put everything together, especially since you have such a short time constraint?
Yeah. It was tough. It was definitely tough. I mean, I think I was doing the math the other day, and the first draft of the script was actually written like 2.5 months ago. Mm-hmm. So not long at all. It was very tight turnaround. And, the idea that I pitched to Hulu into 20th Digital is it has a lot of practical and visual effects. And when, you have less than a month to actually turn around the cut of the short, from locking picture to getting those VFX, to getting color, to sound design, to composing, that is the tightest turnaround I have ever had on any short film that I've ever made. And in some ways it's a blessing because it doesn't give you a lot of time to second guess things, but it's also a real challenge to find your way into the best version of the short that you possibly can in such a tight space. And then, you know, also just with the shooting of it, it was, you know, I remember the shot list is like there's Sammy A through G. And there's so many different phases of that transformation that she goes through. Like, okay, she's got like the brown wig and the wrinkled face. Okay, she's got the brown wig and the not wrinkled face, but no teeth. And now she's got the skull cap with partial brown hair. And now she's got full blonde hair. And every one of those transitions meant that she had to go sit down in the chair for 30 minutes to an hour of makeup. And when you've got a limited budget and only 3 days to shoot something that has so many other elements aside from just this transformation, it was incredibly challenging from a scheduling standpoint, from what my actress Caitlin Pippy had to go through in all kinds of different makeup. You know, it was a real challenge, but I'm really proud of what we accomplished, considering all things considered.
And unfortunately, I have to get into the technical sense of things, because I think for a lot of inspiring people who are inspired to do what you're doing, like what type of cameras did you use? Because your colorist and your editor did an amazing job. It really brought out, like, that was like, I was looking at it, I was like, shoot, you really took those color space and you used them to your advantage. What type of cameras were you using for this shoot?
We used an Arri Alexa Mini for this. My DP, Laura Jansen, is just a rock star. You know, we had very quick turnarounds. I think probably the most challenging set was the witch's lair, because we had all of these different lights that were all in a different color space, and it was basically like an iPad that we were using to dial them all in, and different lights had to come from different rental houses so they weren't all synced up on it. And I remember we were losing light, and we're trying to do that big wide push-in shot that establishes the space. It's like my hero shot for the scene. And it was just, we could not get them to sync up, and everybody was tense, and everybody's looking at the gaffer like, come on, buddy, like, you can do this. But yeah, you know, my colorist, Oliver Ojail, I'm butchering his last name, but he's an incredibly talented person, incredibly talented human. I've known him for years and was very lucky to meet him right when he moved to LA, but he is like top of his game, doing really incredible work, and will always come and work with me. And I told him, I was like, I got a colorful one for you. You're going to have fun with this. Because we really wanted to, you know, me and the DP, we really wanted to lean into this very sort of like surrealist kind of camp world. You know, I didn't really want, other than the scene in the beginning where she's getting ready and she's kind of in her bedroom, I didn't want it to feel super grounded. I wanted it to feel like it was sort of this neon dream, very much in kind of like a Neon Demon, Nicholas Winding Refn vibe, that gave it this sort of surrealist aspect, because it is a weird, strange world that the short lives in. But it's definitely the most colorful thing I have ever done in my life, but it was so fun.
Yeah, and it looked great. I mean, there's, for it being the first of the bite-sized Halloween films that I saw for this year, I was just like, damn, it seemed like it took, every director that has done it before has done an amazing job. And this one on the color side, and I could tell with the camera work and everything that it pushed it up another level.
Oh, thank you.
And I like that. I like seeing where you see these directors pushing each other, and you're seeing this other level, which just season 2 should be. You should see a progression, and I think
raise the bar, baby.
Exactly, and I think you did a great job on this. What can you tell the Muse audience in order to watch your bite-sized Halloween on Hulu?
Gosh, I mean, if you are a fan of body horror and you like, I mean, the thing about it is that it's different than anything that I've ever made, in the sense that most of the shorts that I've made in the horror space are all about scaring you. And really creating that suspense and tension. And this one is completely different in the sense that it's more of an atmospheric vibe across the board. It has a tone of levity. You know, I wanted it to be like an Edgar Wright kind of punchy stylistic thing. So it's not, I wouldn't call it scary, this one. You know, it's more horror just in the content that it consumes, with body horror and this, you know, idea of transformation and the circumstances of a witch and these characters. So it's just, honestly, it's just a fun, punchy Halloween piece that plays with social media and beauty standards, and I hope it gives people a little chuckle as well. Well, it was a fun challenge.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to love this one, because it has so many elements to it. that really pulls you in. But before we let you go, what do you have next? What are you working on? What's coming up for you? Because I'm sure people are going to be following you even more after they watch this short film.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I have a bunch of feature projects that have been in development for quite some time. You know, lost a little steam with the pandemic, but we're ramping things back up. So definitely trying to get those back on track. Got a few irons in the fire that are heating up. And then, you know, another thing that I've been trying to work on and hoping to turn around is I really want to try and create a platform, whether it's a web series or a vlog or whatever it may be, that specifically talks about being a first-time filmmaker in Hollywood. You know, it's kind of this stigma that a lot of us have that, you know, it's really hard to get your first feature made if you're a first-time filmmaker and you haven't made a feature before. But I know so many young filmmakers in this space that are just hustling and making it happen for themselves and going for it and self-financing things and doing what they can. And I think it's such an interesting time in filmmakers' careers to learn from them, especially for any young people out there that are curious about filmmaking and how to get into it and how to break in and want to know what to expect. So that's something I'm really passionate about. I've always really wanted to help educate up and coming filmmakers. And I kind of came to the realization that I don't need to wait until I've already made it to do that. I can educate them with the knowledge and experience that I already have right now. And if anything, that might be even more valuable to them at this stage in their career. So that's something I'm really passionate about and hoping to find the space to do that in the coming year.
Yeah, and that's something that you point on that's really interesting, because that's what I see. We've seen it in music. We've seen that happen where you see this transition to more independent artists and more self-financing of musicians in order to put out their work, and they've succeeded in it. And I'm starting to see that a little bit more slowly, especially on independent films. So
yeah, I mean, it's the space that we're in. You know, it's really tough to get that first shot. For filmmakers. And that's why I love what, you know, 20th Digital is doing with these bite-sized Halloween projects, is they're really giving us a shot to get our work seen on a bigger platform, on a bigger scale, not having to finance it ourselves for once, you know, and it creates this great, rich anthology of different voices at the perfect time of year, which is Halloween. You know, I think I wish there were more opportunities like this for young filmmakers to flex their muscles and get on set and do the damn thing already. But, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are just doing it for themselves. And I admire the shit out of them. And I think there's so much to learn by how people navigate this space and get creative and pull together teams of people and are just pushing their ideas out there. I think those are the real heroes of this industry right now, are the ones that aren't letting the permission from the studios or the industry itself to do something stop them from doing it. Exactly. And I want to talk to those people and learn from them.
That sounds great. And let us know when it launches and when you decide to go through it. We'd love to talk to you about it when it launches. And also too, like, if it wasn't for 20th Digital, where would anybody see a Witch Please like this?
I would not have been able to make this short without 20th Digital. Let's be real.
Exactly.
It would not have happened.
And look, now the world gets to see it, and they're going to enjoy it. And it was a great work, great piece of directing, editing, colorization, everything involved was great. Thank you so very much, Tracy, for being a part of MUSE TV and you're our first for this year's bite-size. You're the first for this year's bite-size Halloween. So
stop it. Well, everybody enjoy all the other ones. There's so many talented filmmakers this year. I'm just so honored and thrilled to be a part of them, and thrilled to be your first interview. Go get it. Let's hear what everybody else has to say.
Exactly. And we got a lot more coming for this year's Bite-Size Halloween. So stay tuned. Link is in the description so you could go and see all these amazing short films. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time here on